Hi, I just came out of a deep grieving process and I'm feeling called to share my journey with you. So, 4 years ago, I remember waking up and feeling so sad. I felt so sad and I didn't understand why. And I said to my husband, I have the most beautiful life, but yet I'm so deeply sad and I don't understand why. Then that night, I got the best news I could have ever received. I was given news that was the one thing that I had always wanted in my life. And that was that I was pregnant. And I remember learning it, and it just felt like all of my problems, all of everything I've ever wanted was just gifted to me. Everything else didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was this new life with this little being that was growing inside of me. And as the days and weeks went by, I would just consistently connect with her, speak to her, write to her, read about her growth. And I remember my father was visiting from Poland. And I was about 10 weeks into my pregnancy at that point when I started to bleed. I was bleeding. I didn't want to worry about it. I talked to the midwife. She said, keep an eye on it. If it continues, we'll have to get an ultrasound done. So it continued for pretty much another day. And I let her know, and she said to go get an ultrasound. And I remember going to the ultrasound clinic, and it was my husband and my father. And I remember I was sitting in the middle of them too. They're both on their phones. And I was freaking out inside. I was so scared. My husband at the time was so confident that everything would be okay. My dad wasn't showing signs of stress. And I remember them telling me that I could bring one person in with me. And my husband was like, Dad, you go. You go. You'll get to see your grandchild. And I said, no, I need you right now. And he came into the room with me. And I remember the technician looking for the heartbeat. And I couldn't see anything, and I just kept repeating in my head, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. Keep your energy positive. Keep your energy positive. And my husband was standing in front of me looking at her monitor. And he wasn't looking at me either. He was looking at the screen. He wasn't responding. And I remember her saying she wanted to do like an intravaginal scope. Is that okay? And I remember at that point knowing that this was not good. And once it was complete, I will never forget the look in her eyes. She knew. She knew my baby was gone, but she couldn't tell me because they're not allowed to. She had to send it to the ultrasound doctor. I can't remember the exact name of, but like someone else who had to look at it. This was on a Friday. But I remember the look in her eye of such deep sadness and empathy because she knew. And I knew in that moment, and I think I asked her, so you couldn't find the heartbeat? I think she just said it's undetermined because they can't tell you, even though they know. And even though it was an emergency ultrasound, they said I might not know for a few days. And I remember leaving the clinic and my dad was with us and I was just like dead inside. And I remember him asking, he's like, I don't understand, what's wrong? What happened? I remember saying, they didn't find a heartbeat. And we went back to our condo. And I just lay in bed with my partner and he comforted me. And I was so heartbroken. I didn't understand why the only thing that I had ever desired in my life, my biggest dream, was given to me and taken away. It crushed me. At the time, I was working corporate and nobody knew I was pregnant. And I remember having to go to work because, once I found out officially on the Monday, I remember going to work and just having to pretend that everything was okay. And then some time had passed. I had taken the medication, I forget the name, I apologize, that helps basically release the fetus. And I think they said to give it 48 hours or 72 hours or something like that, maybe 48. And I had some pain and I had a big bleed. And I thought it was good. So I booked another ultrasound. And I went to this one by myself. Went to a different clinic. And this time the technician, as she was doing the work, said, "Who told you there was no heartbeat?" And I got this moment of oh, is my baby okay? And then she said there was no heartbeat, but the fetus was still attached to me. So I grieved again. And then I scheduled a surgery, a D&C, to get the fetus surgically removed. And I told my work that I had a surgery. I didn't say what kind. Honestly, I was scared to even give any indication that I was trying to conceive. I was scared that they would look at me differently from a growth potential. So I didn't want to tell them. And I remember my husband had gone to work and I was working from home. And I had a big deadline for some budgeting to do, which always really stressed me out. And I remember sitting there and like so stressed and just like crunching numbers and knowing I was going to this surgery and like freaking out inside until like my husband was like, I'm downstairs, like we gotta go. And I was like, okay, like I just submitted this. Okay, I have my bag for the hospital. Let's go. And yeah, everything went fine with the surgery. The grieving, as you can see, went on. And I remember asking myself, asking the universe, like, why is this happening? And I went to an intuitive reader. Sheila Tricarton is her name. She's incredible. And she told me the time wasn't right. That there was more that I needed to do. And that gave me some peace on some level. And I kept asking, okay, what else do I have to do? And so many different opportunities showed themselves. And I ended up going on a really big conscious journey of spirituality. I went to my first moon ceremony. I went into soul therapy with Vanessa Feria. I completely developed a new perception of myself, of the world, connected with spirit. There was divine alignment for me to be trained as a Reiki master. And I got to know myself more deeply than ever possible. I did so much healing regarding my past, my childhood. So much healing. And a really big insight came up for me in the process. I had wanted to bring this child in for my own happiness. For my own happiness. And I was recreating exactly the energy that I was brought into. I was brought in to make my mother happy. And I knew how heavy of a burden that was to carry my entire life. And this child, this spirit, they chose a journey to teach me that, to give me an opportunity to create something different and new, different to the past generations, but different to my lifetime, so that my future children and their children and their children could live freely without the expectations and burdens of someone else's needs. So it's exactly a year ago today that I lost my baby. It was the best and the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But because of that experience, I have grown exponentially, and I have been able to help so many people in the process. Where I am now, how fully I am living, how connected I feel to our planet, to other humans, to spirit, to myself. That likely wouldn't have happened without that. So I share that with you today. My body was actually exhibiting symptoms and pains in my body that I had when I was pregnant. And it was showing me and telling me that there was still pain that I was carrying despite all the work that I've done over these years. So whatever you might be going through in your life, or have gone through in your life, whatever loss you've encountered, whatever challenges, know that it's not all for nothing. Know that there are gifts within it that you just may not see yet. Know that the universe has your back, is supporting you. I know it's hard. But it is all happening for you. I love you. Thank you for listening.